My name is Jay Sugarman, and I want to welcome you to Innovation Showcase. The main purpose of this ongoing series is to inform viewers about exciting innovations and creative individuals across the fields of business, science, technology, education, and the arts. Today, via Zoom, we're fortunate to have as our guests Meryl Kessler, Leah Kolidas, Adam Proia, Sarah Tomkins, and Sage Widder, all of whom are associated with Celebrate Newton banners, a Newton Community Pride public art initiative designed to enliven and brighten the city, inspire civic pride, and introduce art to more public spaces. Meryl is a Newton Community Pride board member, and she also serves as the Public Art Committee chair. Leah, Adam, Sarah, and Sage are the four artists who were chosen to design the 15 different banners that are currently enhancing 130 various locations throughout the city. During the program, we're learning about Newton Community Pride's overall mission and some of its wide range of programs and events. We'll find out why and how Celebrate Newton banners came about, and go on a behind-the-scenes tour of the banners with the artists. Let's start by meeting our guest and then finding all about Newton Community Pride and the Celebrate Newton Banners Public Art Initiative. Welcome. So delighted you're all able to be here. And first of all, congratulations on the success of the project. It's really been wonderful walking around, driving around the city, and seeing a number of the banners hanging proudly above. Eager to hear more and have you inform viewers. But before we jump right to that, Meryl, would you start, please, by just sharing a little bit about Newton Community Pride, its overall mission, what it's involved with, please?
Sure, of course, Jay. First of all, let me say thank you so much for inviting us on your program and for profiling this project, and it's great to see you again. Newton Community Pride is a nonprofit organization, and it is devoted to building community right here in Newton through free arts and culture programming, through public art like this project, through beautification projects, and through volunteerism. We've actually been around for quite a while. We were founded in 1989, and we currently have a 14-person board and a small staff. And our current programs include a range of initiatives, including an annual public art initiative. In 2021, we sponsored Newton Outdoors, and we're fortunate enough to be on this program with you then. And in 2022, we sponsored Sit and Let Your Spirit Soar, another public art initiative. We've also sponsored festivals and musical programming. We sponsor a 2-day Winterfest celebration in the winter, obviously, the annual Linda Plout Festival of the Arts in the summer, and a village concert series usually in the fall. We also sponsor a microgrant program to support artists and art organizations and neighborhood groups. And we sponsor and distribute the Nancy Quinn Shorn Arts Scholarship to 3 high school seniors pursuing the arts in higher education. Finally, last but not least, we also provide financial support for a variety of arts and culture programs sponsored by the City of Newton, such as the Artful Piano Project and the Halloween Window Painting Contest.
Oh, fabulous. So many terrific initiatives. Just a quick word how the Celebrate Newton Banners project came about.
Sure. So this year we wanted to do a slightly different type of public art program than we had in the last couple of years. In the last 2 years, the programs I mentioned both involved, they were temporary exhibits. They involved the upcycling of recycled materials, in one case doors, and in another case church pews. And the artists painted directly on those materials, and then the artwork was positioned around the city. we were hoping to do something this year, perhaps a little bit more permanent and maybe even a little bit more impactful. So our goals were to enliven and brighten the city, to inspire civic pride, and to introduce art to more public places. And we knew that the city had many light poles that were already equipped with banner hardware. And we thought that a call for art for a series of banners to celebrate Newton would be a way of accomplishing our goals. So we approached the city about a partnership, and the city was very enthusiastic about the idea. And so the Celebrate Newton Banners initiative was born. And as you mentioned in your intro, in early March, we installed 130 light pole banners that were decorated with designs celebrating the culture, the history, diversity, values, and the beauty of the city of Newton. And the designs on the banners were created by the 4 incredible artists who are on the show with us today. And they were selected from a much larger pool of submissions by a jury of community leaders. The banners each have the word Celebrate Newton on the banners, and they are in the 8 most common languages spoken here in the city: English, Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, Russian, Hebrew, Japanese, and Italian. And as I mentioned, they've been installed throughout the city, primarily on major streets and commercial areas. So they're on Washington Street, Commonwealth Avenue, Walnut Street. They're in Auburndale, West Newton, Newtonville, Newton Center, and they're all up now. And as you mentioned, I think they look really terrific, and really, I think, accomplish the goals we set out to achieve.
Most definitely. And I think once you're aware that they're there, you can't miss them, and you keep seeing more and more of them throughout. Thank you for that overview. Want to move on to the artist and start with you, Leah. Welcome. Would you please start by briefly sharing a little bit about your background and artistic interests?
Sure. I grew up in Massachusetts on the North Shore, and I've lived in Newton for the past 14 years approximately. And I've always been drawing since I was 2 years old. My mom has been saving my artwork. I went to Massachusetts College of Art in Boston and studied painting and art history. And I paint quite a bit now.
Nice. And what attracted you to the Celebrate Newton Banners project?
I was really excited about the project itself because I live here in Newton and I've really loved raising my family here. So the idea of creating art that celebrates the city that my family and I love was really exciting to be part of.
How did you go about coming up with the different ideas? I know we see one here and we're going to see the other shortly as well, but what was the process like? First deciding what you were going to create, and then how you went about designing each banner.
Sure. Well, when I first sat down, I brainstormed in my sketchbook things that stood out to me about what I loved about living here, like the different iconic events and structures and places in Newton that make it what it is. So for this first image, of course, the marathon is a big event that goes through Newton. And I was thinking about how people from all over the world come here to run through the city. And it's almost a metaphor for how so many people come to Newton to live, people from all over the world. It's such a multicultural city. And one thing that I really love about it. So I wanted to capture that in this first image.
Wonderful. And so timely this time of
Right.
year.
It was exciting to have them up on Com Ave. I told my friends who were running in the marathons to look out for them. So that was really a thrill.
Definitely. And this one, I know, commemorates an event we all look forward to yearly. A word about this and the wonderful design and the inspiration for how you situated everything here.
Sure. Well, the Newton fireworks are really a highlight in the city. The display that the city does is really something else. And it felt particularly special this past year after the hiatus we had up during COVID to come there as a family. So I really wanted to highlight this event in particular and try and capture the excitement and the joining of people together.
Wonderful, wonderful.
This one is probably my favorite. Last year, I had the opportunity to paint one of those upcycled church pews that the Newton Community Pride sponsored. And I painted one that sat at Farlow Park in Newton. And while I was painting there, my son happened to stroll over to one of the painted pianos that was at Farlow Park, and he was playing the piano, and people were out. It was a beautiful day and walking their dogs, picnicking, playing, and a group of people gathered to listen to him play piano. And I was thinking this just really exemplified what I love about the city, how it supports arts and artists, and it just makes it a wonderful place to be.
Definitely, definitely. And the last one here.
This last one is of Echo Bridge. It's just one of those spots in Newton. It's one of those little gems. Newton has so many of these areas of natural beauty that are tucked in with all the hustle and bustle of the city that make it a really special place to be. And we certainly explored, I think, all of them during the pandemic when we were all trying to spend time outdoors. And Echo Bridge is just one of my family's favorite spots to go. So I tried to capture that here.
Wonderful, wonderful. What's been just a little bit some reaction or feedback you've heard about either your banners or the project in general?
I've heard so much wonderful feedback. People have been reaching out to me in email saying, oh my gosh, I saw the article and now about the banners and now I'm seeing them everywhere. My kids have been so proud too. Their art teacher at Memorial Spalding highlighted them in a little slideshow. So it's been a really fun way to connect to people all over the city who've seen them everywhere. They look
Wonderful.
great.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And also, would you start just sharing a little bit about your background and your artistic interest, please?
Yeah, I think I've always drawn or painted basically my whole life. I paint a lot now, mostly gouache. Like I would say it's more children's book style painting, but I'm a graphic designer by like my trade. So I work at a local ad agency. So I did all of these on the computer. I usually try to unplug from the computer when I go home and do everything traditionally. But I thought that this was a nice change for me. It's not something I normally do like this, outside of work. So I kind of took a different route with these designs.
Oh no, they really stand out incredibly. So glad you did. What motivated you to be part of this initiative?
So I've been part of a few of them. I did the Artful Piano project with my son about 2 or 3 years ago. And then the Sit and Soar, we did that one, or I did that one. He wasn't around for that one. So I've just always, I think since Gloria reached out one time at the beginning, I've always kind of just been interested in what the next project was for Newton Community Pride. So it's always fun and exciting stuff and kind of outside the box of like what you would normally be spending your time and artistic, talents on. So it's always something fun and interesting. So I'm always up for whatever the next challenge is with them.
Nice. Well, speaking of outside the box, what's your approach to creating, inventing, in this case, the banners? How did you begin? And then what led to the eventual 4 that we're going to see?
Yeah, so I think that much like Leah said, I kind of thought about what is Newton to me, and I tried to highlight some of the great things about Newton. Mine, I think, are a lot more outdoor spaces. I think we could all say like the education here, the schools are great, everything's great about like that kind of thing. And I was kind of trying to look at, when I'm walking around and when I'm outside, what does it mean to me? So that's kind of where I was, like outdoor spaces and nature and just things that, being from Newton, what you know about Newton. So maybe people that generally think of Newton don't know about these spaces, and just to highlight those kind of things.
What's the process like designing them on the computer?
So in this particular case, I wanted to do each one like monochromatic color scheme. So I like for this one here, the Echo Bridge, I was trying to go for just like main shapes and silhouettes of different things that spoke to me about the location. So the Echo Bridge one here is easy, and that arch is what I know Echo Bridge for, just the bridge itself, with the nature all around it. There was, the green kind of spoke to me about that being outside in this particular case, even though the bridge isn't green. I wanted to change different colors that popped against the sky for when people drove by them, so that they would see them like bright colors.
As we're already seeing in the slides, and as we'll continue to see, just the variations each of you have in projecting a similar location or thinking. Let's go on to the second one. What are you capturing here, please?
Yes. So this is the Jackson Homestead right on Washington Street. And every time I walk by this place a lot, because it's close to where I live. And the thing that always stands out to me is just the fence and the posts outside, because you don't see that, like that kind of style and intricacy in mostly in like fences or architecture now. So I kind of wanted to illuminate that a little bit, but also, the house in the background itself, but more iconic of like what that spot was, the celebrate the architecture and the craftsmanship of it, as well as obviously what the Jackson Homestead is and was.
Nice.
I wanted to highlight it, just the architecture of the place itself too.
Yeah, and your coloring works so well. Just comes across
Thank you.
terrific.
Yeah, and this is the Johnny Kelly. I think everyone's probably seen this, the statue right down on by City Hall on Com Ave.
Again, a lot of people saw it these past few days for sure. And the last one we'd like to hear about is this one.
Yeah, so this is the Cove in Auburndale. So every summer we end up buying a like membership to the canoe and kayak down there. So we're on the river a lot in this area, and it's almost like you're in another world once you're out there. There's swans and the wildlife, birds flying around. It's just great. It feels like you're in, someplace up in New Hampshire or something. But you're right in the city, So that was what I was going for here. It could be really anywhere, but just the fact that like maybe not a lot of people in Newton know of that area, or people don't know Newton for that. But you could be like right on the water and feel like you're in a different world, within minutes.
Wonderful.
So it's nice.
Well, thanks for sharing, and so glad you
course.
participated in this initiative.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
And moving on, Sarah, welcome.
Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for having us all. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Before we enjoy your banners, a quick word about your background and artistic interests, please.
Sure. I'm actually an art educator and a local Boston artist. I usually create wood block prints, but I do a lot of design work for individuals and corporations. And I do a lot of large scale public art projects. I've done a few of the projects that the other artists spoke about as well. And I do a lot of like set design and painting for local theater companies. So.
No, and like everybody else, I mean, your colors are just exquisite. What do we see in front of us here?
So I have, like everyone mentioned before, I have a lot of family in Newton, and one of the things that I love about Newton is how serene you can feel in the area of the city. You feel like it's almost like a small town feel. You have these awesome neighborhoods, and a lot of the imagery I used was actually like thinking about like walks with my family and around the town and the neighborhoods and things like that.
And just a quick word, say with this poster in mind,
Oh,
your
sure.
your design process.
So I do think there's like a very kinship between wood block printing. It's kind of blocking out imagery and getting that posterized technique in graphic design. So this image actually, I used an image from my brother walking his brand new baby, and I was thinking about his daughter growing up in Newton and all the exciting things that they're gonna be able to be part of in the city. So.
Nice, nice. And your inspiration for this one?
Like Adam mentioned, the beautiful serene waters and all the swans that are over in that Auburndale Cove area. It does feel like a different area, and we're so excited to have like that river through Newton, and we're pretty blessed to have that area. So.
And again, it's just wonderful to see the contrast between Adam's version and your version. Just wonderful to see.
Yeah.
And the third one we're fortunate to have right here.
Yeah, one of my favorite experiences working in Newton was during the pandemic. They had a lot of the Jersey barriers painted for the city's restaurants, and a lot of people worked in groups, and it was so nice and refreshing to have community come together and all the local shops. Like, thank you for, as an artist, sharing your work during the pandemic with the al fresco dining project. So that was like one of my fondest memories of meeting all the different vendors and restaurateurs and people, coming together and working with the artists in the community. That was one of my favorite moments. So the shopping and the restaurants in town really coming together to support the arts is wonderful in Newton.
Definitely, definitely. And your final one.
One of my favorite experiences in Newton is actually walking around with my sister with her dog Charlie. And so we often like to walk and bike, and it seems like every time we take a different turn or go a different way, and it's always like a fun exploration for us. So I really think that's one of the glorious things about Newton is the bike paths and the trails that we have, and the ability to get that small town feel in a pretty large, diverse, culturally thriving city. So.
In addition to your banners, just hearing each of you speak about the attraction to Newton, we couldn't have a better set of ambassadors for the city. So thank you for sharing. Want to move on, and Sage, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Sure. Before we hear about this wonderful banner in front of us, a quick word about your background and artistic interest, please.
Sure, yeah. So I grew up in Newton and now I go to Wellesley College, which is nearby. And I've always been really interested in art. And when I was younger, I would mainly like just sort of draw with markers or acrylic paints. And then eventually that became like working with gouache and then digital art, which is what the medium I use to create the banners here. And then also branching out and trying things like oil paints and oil pastels and watercolor. So I like digital art because I feel like it allows for sort of more adjustments of like colors and sort of the general like architecture of an image. So I wanted to experiment with that.
And what was the inspiration for the flowers here?
So I think for all three of my designs, I wanted to draw off of the idea of Newton being like the garden city is our slogan. So like that's something that I think speaks to me because and this has already been said, but like the natural environments within Newton are something that's really important to me, especially like being someone who cares a lot about nature and growing up in a city. It's like really important to have access to those spaces. And I feel like for me, like this design representing each part of Newton as part of a garden, like is meaningful to me because it connects to those ideas of like nature and natural settings.
How many iterations, say for this poster, did you go through to come up with the flowers and the coloring that you decided upon?
I think I definitely changed the coloring a lot. Like I think almost in some ways doing digital art, I feel like gives me too much freedom to change the colors that I'm working with because I end up like taking a long time to decide on what composition I like the most. But working on this piece, there was, I think my original sketch, a lot of the flowers remained similar, but a lot of the colors changed and the composition changed.
Nice, nice. Well, let's look at your second submission here. What are we seeing?
So similarly, this takes a sort of different perspective on the garden city idea, and this is sort of a more of a focus on the buildings in Newton, so like the residential areas as well as the library and city hall, which are I think to everyone like important landmarks. And then in between, I wanted to include flowers to sort of add to the add a additional visual element and draw on that same idea of nature in the garden city.
Mhm.
And yeah.
You know, I think for many of us, the Newton Free Library is our home away from home. It really is a jewel for sure. And your third banner here.
I think for me, like I wanted to have something that focused on the people, and especially like growing up as a kid in Newton, my experiences are very focused on like my school experiences and my experiences like with friendships and those sort of like childhood environments. And so I wanted to create something that focuses on those experiences and also shows kids like playing outside and enjoying nature, because I feel like that's something that was really important to me. And I hope that kids like continue to sort of be able to have those experiences, because I feel like there are opportunities within Newton to have that. And a lot of people like in a lot of places, like cities don't have sort of those opportunities. So I think we're really lucky in Newton to have those environments. So that's something I wanted to highlight.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for sharing the banners and for highlighting some of the things that make Newton a special place for you. Really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
You know, in the final minute or so, Meryl, that we have left, any final words, thoughts, either about Newton Community Pride or the banners? And before you sum it up, just congratulations to you and other members of the committee for selecting such talented artists who couldn't have asked for a better group to convey just why so many of us value living in Newton.
Well, thank you, Jay. And I completely agree with you. I loved hearing, even though each of the artists submitted a personal statement with his or her art, it was just so inspiring listening to the personal stories on this program. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to hear those stories. And, you know, I just want to say how proud we are at Newton Community Pride of the Celebrate Newton Banners initiative, and how truly grateful we are for these 4 wonderful artists for their artwork, which is now adorning streets around the city. Second, I just wanted to give a little plug. I want to let people know that if they'd like to find out more about Newton Community Pride, we have a website, which is newtoncommunitypride.org, easy to find. And we're also on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And we have been profiling these banners and the artists on social media the last few weeks. So people, if they want to find more, they can go online. The banners are on our website. The artist statements are on our website, and links to these artists' own websites and whatever social media they're on are also on our website, so people can find out more about them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the program. I want to thank all of you again for taking the time to be here. Congratulations with this initiative, and with best of luck with upcoming projects, and look forward to seeing your work out and about throughout the city.
Thank you, Jay.
Also want to thank those of you watching for joining us, and hope you'll be able to tune in next time.